what am I seeing there? One thing, and I don't think this is his fault right now, they don't have an identity yet. That will come. Good teams have an identity. When we think back with Wilfried and that team, you knew what you were going to get game in and game out. There may be games where teams were able to counter it a little bit, but you knew what the Crew was about. Right now, I'm not quite sure what they're about, and it may be that way for a while.
We cover pro Columbus. Tune in and join us. Disrespected media.
Hello and welcome to the Crewcible podcast. I'm Michael Arace, the host of this fine program. You can find it on most podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, and visit my new YouTube channel. It's about 6-7 weeks old, and it's Scorsese promising. Please visit disrespected.com, which doesn't pay the bills, but is designed to at some point. Visit disrespected.com. Check out all of my work. The free weekly Dis, which runs on Saturday mornings. The latest edition is another, God, I couldn't help myself. Once I start writing about the Haslams, it just gets away from me and turns into a screed. Anyway, that's at disrespected.com. Check it out tomorrow for free if you would. Today being the 24th of April, Friday, the end of the work week for my guest, Tom Reed, the Condor, the one and only. Tom, longtime sports writer, now out of the business, but adjacent, works at Denison in the comms department, does all kinds of stuff, including still writing a lot. But Tom Reed worked for more newspapers than, I don't know, fill in the blank. Tom Reed worked everywhere.
I was once called Larry Brown with a laptop.
There you go, Larry Brown with a laptop. That's Tom Reed. I think your last media job, what was it? It was The Athletic, right?
Oh,
DK Sports.
Pittsburgh Sports.
Yeah, DK Pittsburgh Sports. And then prior to that, a couple stints at the Dispatch. There was a stint in Akron there. There was a couple stints at the Cleveland Plain Dealer. But let's get on with it now. Tom is one of my favorite people to talk soccer with, if I can end on a preposition. He's Tom, how long have you immersed yourself in the game, particularly EPL at first and later MLS?
So my English Premier League goes back to like '99, when there was this channel called Fox Sports World. We had just moved into a house up in Warren, Ohio, and we had DirecTV, and there it was. And I had watched the previous two World Cups. And then since then, and then, of course, I moved down here in 2007 or 8, and what a great time for a soccer fan to come to Columbus as they start collecting trophies and banners and supporter shields and all that kind of stuff. So I feel very spoiled having moved down here and watching a team, win titles while everyone else in Ohio has really struggled. Other than if you don't have LeBron on you, you're not going to win. But this team has managed to do that.
We should note that Tom is a insufferable and long-suffering Liverpool fan. We all love those. But Tom, let's get to the Crew now. Last Wednesday, they defeated Richmond Kickers in a U.S. Open Cup game, round of 32. 3-0, heavily rotated lineup. Saturday, 2-hour rain delay. They're back home at the fertilizer field and played what the coach said, Henrik Rydström, was the best first half they'd played all season, maybe their best half period all season. But then the demons arose, if you will. L.A. scores to cut it to 2-1. Somebody hits a crossbar. The few fans that were left, and it was a great crowd, even though it came
across on TV that way.
It was a great crowd. I sat in the stands in the first half, and it was really cool because if you're going to sit through a 2-hour rain delay, and then they make you go in when there's lightning and stuff like that, I mean, and then you finish. I mean, that's hardcore, and they were into it. The Nordeck was about 40% full, and it was great. Anyway, Tom, your thoughts, just generally speaking, on Saturday's game, a 2-1 victory.
Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday night. Geez, did I start with Saturday?
That's all right. No problem. It was Wednesday's game. They played Wednesday.
Oh, that's right. They lost 2-1 at New England on Saturday.
Right. Yeah.
I skipped over that one.
That's okay. let's go with the most recent game. I thought, again, I preface this by saying I did not see the Atlanta win. That was the only game I haven't watched as far as the MLS games. I thought the first half is the best I've seen them play all year.
This is against LA.
Against LA.
Yeah.
And they were just, everything was fine until they gave up the goal to make it 2-1. And then it just got a little nervy there. And oh my gosh, Son Zawatsky was so lucky because it was his kind of poor clearance that kept that play alive. And I don't know, you're sitting in I don't know where you were sitting in the stadium, but just watching it on TV, as that ball loops toward the post, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all going to depend on where. You can see it was going to hit the post, but there's, 1 inch makes a big difference. If it hits an inch lower, it's probably bar down and in. Yeah. But luckily it hit the post square and it avoided all Galaxy players and they were able to hang on. But yeah, you can tell this team is still kind of going through it, still learning how to win games, and especially when they just have a 1-goal lead. Like I said, they were fine until they weren't, and it just got really nervy down to the stretch. But hey, it's a win. It's Henrik's first win at home.
That's right.
And so let's see if they can build on that on Saturday against another struggling team in Philadelphia.
Right. And speaking of Philly, I think we'll get to Gazdag in a second, but the standouts for me first was Taha Habroune. And I don't know why there's a knock on him that he's not a take your rock kind of player, that defensively he's not a good player on the press. And he might have been the best player on their press Wednesday night, if I have the day right.
Yeah, very good. Baby steps. I love him. I've liked him since last year when I saw him score against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And he impresses me. He has some of the best passes on a team that throws a lot of passes sideways and backwards. He's the one guy I can count on that's going to try to thread the ball through forward. You saw like 4 or 5 of those passes the other night. And while Diego Rossi deserves all the credit in the world for the second goal, and that his first touch in the box was unbelievable. That play starts with Taha just, I don't know, I can't describe the technique, but he takes it on like the volley and just loops it over the defender's head right onto the foot of Rossi, and then there they go. They've got a break going, and it's a beautiful team goal, and it starts with that pass that could have gone anywhere, and he just puts it right on the plate for Rossi to get that break started. Rossi has a great pass. I think that's maybe one of their best team goals of the year. Let's be honest, there haven't been many. So a great play. I love the kid.
Yeah. I gave him my man of the match. He's 20 years old. He's 20 years old from Columbus, Ohio. It's extraordinary to think what kind of upside he has because, there's a lot of technique there, and he's competitive too. You can see it. It's like he was.
I've seen a difference from last year. Like last year, you saw flashes. There were moments. He was more of a moments guy last year. This year, I've noticed him a lot more. Now, obviously, he's going to have to get bigger. But what 20-year-old, except Eric Lindros, doesn't need to get bigger? So I think he's just going to get better. I think there's some real potential there with him. I'm excited to watch him grow. Hopefully here in Columbus for a while. Yeah,
and Hugo Picard needs to grow as well, but he's not going to grow anymore, at least stature-wise. But we're seeing him come into his own a little bit, the way Rydström's using it. Do you agree with that, Tom? Your thoughts on Hugo Picard, who picked up an assist on
yeah, a nice, beautiful pass into the box for the goal, the first goal.
Yeah.
The French Beetle. He's got that Beetle haircut. I think like what it's going to be, if they're going to be competitive this year, these guys, and I'm sure we're going to come on to Gazdag in a minute, these guys are going to have to step up. Everyone's going to have to, there's no Cucho anymore to rescue them. We saw that last year, but
There's no
players.
Wasim Abu Ali there anymore.
There's no Abu Ali. So in some ways, I think it's those guys know that they're going to start playing a lot more. They're going to have to play. They're going to have to perform. And in some ways, I think that will help them because they don't have to look over their shoulder all the time because they're going to be depended on. And we'll see where that takes them. But again, it's one game. Picard's been playing okay. That was a great play the other night. I'm not as high on him as I am on Taha, but that's okay. It's a new system. This is a transition year. Let's be honest with I'd be shocked if they were really good by the end of the year, but we'll see. So far, not bad.
And now we get to Gazdag, who scored his first goal of the season, his fifth as a member of a crew in his 27, something like 35th game or something like that. He had 4 goals and 4 assists last year. He was riding Wilfried Nancy's bench, or actually he was turned into a substitute by the time they got to the playoffs. It felt like Rydström talked about him preseason. This would be, I don't want to say an easy reclamation project, but there would be redemption for Gazdag here this year. And it didn't work out that way, not at the start. I think since Wasim Abu Ali went out a few games ago, and Gazdag has been inserted into the starting lineup, it's like he's added more threat. He looked dangerous at times in the past, Tom, but he was always like, you saw him doing a lot of right things. You were not a fan of him last year. Get this first goal this year. As you said, they're going to need him going forward because of the absence of Wasim Abu Ali and many other things. Tom, your thoughts on Daniel Gazdag? You were not a fan of his last year.
That's correct. It's been an interesting new coach coming in. He played early and then he didn't play at all, right? He just, and I thought it was very interesting when Abu Ali went down in the game a couple games ago. He was like the third or fourth guy that came into the game.
He played Abu Ali came out of the game in a 32nd minute. Yep. Taha came in for him. Gazdag played 8 minutes in that game at the end. That's where he was a month ago, basically.
Yeah. So I think that it'll be interesting to see. I've read and listened to what Henrik has been saying. I always love when coaches say, I'm trying to help them. One of my favorite, no matter what sport, the guys that are in the doghouse, they're always trying to be helped by their coaches. I'm not exactly sure, maybe you're around the team a lot more than I am, exactly what they are looking him to do more. From last year, I would say just do something. He's somewhere in the box, he'd be getting shots, whatever. We went through that on a podcast earlier, which he just wasn't even really a factor. But you see the skill. That goal was a lovely, if I remember, outside foot goal, a highly skilled play, finishing off Picard's cross. You hope it gives him some confidence going forward. But there have been some false dawns with him. I remember last year he had played a great game, and he was in the, he had been mired in basically a season-long slump, and he had a great game. And I'm thinking, okay, now we go, and then it just went back to where he was before. So let's see if this is a building block this time. To your point earlier, I mean, with this lineup, they need him, and maybe now he will be another one of these guys thinking he's going to be getting time. There's not exactly a cavalry coming from behind that are pushing him for playing time. Maybe he can relax a little bit and start filling the score sheet a little bit more, because they're going to need him. They're going to need all of these guys. And I don't know if we're going to get into this, but look at we're starting to get into the first crush of games this season.
Right.
They're going to be coming. There's a lot of them coming up. And this is not a lineup just blessed with depth. So Henrik's going to be counting on these guys a lot that we've been just discussing. And so they need him to come good as far as, being this designated player. This guy has to start scoring goals for them if it's going to be anything other than a long season.
Yeah, it's, we've talked about it. Everyone's talked about it. I've written about it any number of times. You can't have a DP bust in a market this size. This is
absolutely right, 100%.
And so far he's done relatively nothing. And so if you're a Crew fan, you have to pray that that goal uncorks him. He has been, I don't know, do you say he's playing well? You can say that, I'll use the soccer terminology, which I don't cotton to, but his actions within the system are good. He is, by acclaim, a smart player. You can see him in the way he finds space and his choice of runs and how he plays in relation to the players around him. You see all that. There's a good IQ there for the game, a good feel for the game. But God, he's got to finish. When they got him, he's Philly's all-time leading scorer with like 86 goals or something like that.
A lot of PKs, but that's true.
Exactly. I was going to ask you about that, Tom.
That's true with any prolific scorer, because he's your PK guy. It's not like you're passing that around. He's the designated PK guy. You're going to get goals, and they've had some good seasons with him in the lineup. It only stands the reason that he's going to get some goals like that.
Tom, how about Henrik Rydström? Are your feelings evolving? What I've been writing is that we're beginning to see bit by bit, week by week, a better realization of his system and what he wants his team to do. Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on Henrik Rydström and his system and how it's evolving?
I think look, Mike, I think you wrote this last night. They jumped from like 13th to 9th. I looked today before we came on, and they're like 4 points out of 6th or something like that. It's early. It's early. There's plenty of time. The great thing about the MLS is there's a playoff system. Now, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but there's plenty of time to get their act together. He's coming in trying to implement a system without their captain, who's been here one of the best leaders in the MLS history, great midfielder. I know we're going to come on to this, a back line that's, I don't even know how to describe them right now. He started the season trying to go forward, and clearly the guys behind him, they were leaving so much space that they were giving up goals left and right. Then he made some changes to where nobody was scoring. So he's had a lot to work with. And then he loses the one guy who can score goals for the season. So that's a lot to take on for a new coach. And also a new coach, not just, he didn't come over from the Galaxy or somewhere. He came over from Sweden. So yeah, I'm willing to give him time. They've had some bad results, but again, I expected that. It's frustrating, but I expected this. I expected the growing pains. What you didn't expect was to lose your best player that early in the year. But again, this maybe is something to go back to what you were talking about earlier with Picard and with Gazdag. Maybe this is their chance to look. There's nobody coming over your back. You guys are going to have to do it. Maybe they can relax a little bit and start playing better.
Well, one tweak that Rydström talked about post-game was that, if you recall, in New England on Saturday, second half, the Crew played an excellent first half, very good first half. And then in the second half, they got right channeled to death, and Carlos Gil was just a chaotic presence within the box. But it was right channeled. And what Rydström talked about after the victory over the LA Galaxy Wednesday night was that he recognized that they were getting beat on from the outside, and he tried to push LA more toward the middle of the field, and obviously that worked very well. Building block is the way I saw it. Again, progress in baby steps. I really like the coach. I've been consistent in that. I appreciate him as a human being. I admire his intellect and his self-awareness, and he's won. He's won in the past, and I'm sticking with this guy. I think, Tom, I've sensed among fans, and tell me if you agree or not, that sort of the frustration is shifting from the coach to the front office, namely Issa Tall, for a host of reasons, up to including, as you foreshadowed, he had talked as long ago as 2 years ago about adding depth to center back, and he hasn't done it yet. Now, take it from there. I mean, I was going to add that there's going to be changes to this team. They're 9 games in. There's a total of 15 games before they hit the World Cup break. And there are going to be changes. They have stated that they're looking for another attacker in lieu of Wessam Abu Ali and his injury. He had surgery yesterday, by the way. So, Tom, your thoughts on the roster as composed and what you would like to see next?
Well, they need to. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sean is more of a midfielder who's being forced to play center back right now, right?
Yes. Well, It's been that way for years, really. I mean, the old line I always trot out when this kind of thing comes up is, I remember, I think it was Berhalter called Bez when Berhalter was the coach of the men's national team, and he said he asked him what position Zawadzki played. And this was obviously going back a few years, and Bez Pachenko said, well, he's a midfielder, but his underlying numbers at center back are unbelievable. They're like 90th percentile in the league. So what position he's supposed to be a midfielder, Tom? He's been stuck on the back line for a couple, 3 years now. Yeah,
I mean, the last 2 games, you think about sticking with the center backs for a second. And poor Rudy, I mean, he's had a rough start to the season. I mean, the PK that he gave away last week was just one of those ones where there's 3 things he could probably have done there, and 2 of them are good. Either run him off, either use your body and kind of take the guy off his route, or 2, stay on the inside of him, and when the ball comes in, go ahead and stick your leg in there and try to kick the ball away. And 3, absolutely under no circumstances do you reach out and grab someone's arm or hook someone's arm. And they may have been both players would have been may have been holding on to each other. But boy, when you do that, you give the referee a chance to make the call that he made. And it's like, what are we doing here? And fast forward to the other night, again, they're playing great. They've got a 2-0 lead, so they don't have to be as dynamic as they were in the first half. You're just trying to see the game out. Play smart. They were playing smart. You have 1 lapse where they don't pick up the runner who's allowed to come from the other side of the halfway line into the attacking area, and still you're okay. I thought Zawadzki's mistake that he made there was he gambled and tried to win the ball. And the moment he does not win the ball, it becomes a 2-on-1 in the most dangerous part of the field. Could Schulte have done a better job on that? I don't know. I've never played goal. I don't know. In hockey, you would say it's a short side goal. You shouldn't give up a short side goal. I don't exactly know what he's looking at there. Maybe he's thinking he's going to shoot back across the face of goal. It doesn't look great, but it's just a play that I'm like, why are you reaching in there? Keep the guy in front of you, and wait for the cavalry to come back. Do not gamble there, because you can do that in the midfield because you have guys behind you. In that case, it led to what happened. And then right at the end, again, I'm sure center backs, anyone in the box hates when the ball goes way up in the air and you have to volley it out. And he didn't. It was kind of a poor clearance. It allowed the play to continue, and then they end up almost scoring, I should say, off the post. So, yeah, the center back in position, that's a long way of saying they need to shore that up.
Yeah, I was about to say, Tom. So you're saying they need a center back?
Yeah, the business you're in, the business I used to be in, you were trying to show, not tell. So trying to cite specific examples.
Yeah.
And just early in the year, of course, those guys, as you know, it's not always the defender's fault. A goal is not always the defender's fault. Early in the year, guys were getting caught way up the field. Right? They're getting caught way up the field, and that's when Henrik certainly made changes to limit that a little bit. They're not getting beat as much on those kind of plays. Again, I guess to your other point about Henrik's, what am I seeing there? One thing, and I don't think this is his fault right now, they don't have an identity. yet. That will come. Good teams have an identity. When we think back with Wilfried and that team, you knew what you were going to get game in and game out. There may be games where teams were able to counter it a little bit, but you knew what the Crew was about. Right now, I'm not quite sure what they're about, and it may be that way for a while until he can decide what players work, if there's going to be any reinforcements coming in here in a couple weeks. But right now, I don't see a real identity there. You're just scrambling to win games.
Right. So, I don't know. We'll see. There's going to be changes. This coach, I'm rooting for.
Yeah, and again, that's not a knock on Henrik.
Yeah.
It's more of you can only do with what you have with, right? You can only, right now you can't necessarily rely on some of the stuff in the back. In the front, you're trying to piece together something after losing your one consistent scorer. You know, is Max going to be here on the other side of the break? I don't know.
That's a good question.
So I this is a project that if they end up finishing 10th out of the playoffs, I don't care. I want to say this has to be a couple years for me to say, yes, this coach knows what he's doing, or no, it's time to make a move. Okay. I'm not willing to make anything right now.
Okay, they re-upped with Dylan Shambost, announced today. Or yesterday, actually. Geez, I don't have the terms in front of me, but it is I think 2.5 years plus an option. And it's, I believe it's non-TAM, which would be good. And because he has a green card, it doesn't take up an international slot, which is good. Your thoughts on Dylan Shambost? He's kind of a guy that doesn't hurt you and doesn't blow you away. Skilled, pretty smart. Midfielder Dylan Shambo. Tom, did you like the signing, or indifferent, or what?
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Made a nice play the other night. I mean, he's the one that led. The first goal starts with him picking off the pass, getting it to, I'm pretty sure it went directly. He would have had the hockey assist, was I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah.
On the ball played into Gazdag. So that's a plus. Yeah, I think serviceable might be a pretty good word.
And I think you could put it like you'd put it for a lot of the players on the field right now, is like you'd like to see them have more competition, you know.
Right. And that's again why I'm saying I agree with you on Henrik that I know that there's part of the problem is we're prisoners of our own success. We know how good this team has been the last 4 or 5 years.
Right. Spoiled.
And it's not there right now, and fans get frustrated.
Okay. Next 3 are at home. Philly on Saturday, tomorrow. 1 Knox from the third Tier 3 team that beat DC United on kicks in the round of 32. That's a U.S. Open Cup game, round of 16. Crew against 1 Knox here at the Fertilizer Field on Wednesday. And then the following Saturday, it's Minnesota here. So and that'll get them through this very clustered, this compressed part of their schedule. Tom, any thoughts on the week ahead?
You're a fan of the U.S. Open. You like the Cup, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I know the FA Cup predates everything, but this is the oldest trophy in America, I'm one to always say it's okay for Americans to have their own brand of soccer. Well, to me, the U.S. Open Cup is emblematic of that. It's a very democratic piece of crystal.
Yeah, and in a season where there's not a high expectation in the league, at least from me. If you could go a couple rounds in this and see where it takes you, it's all the better. I would, though, try to rotate it again as much as possible for the game against 1 Knox and see where it goes. Yeah,
because the points on the Saturdays, on the either side in this sandwich are critical, obviously. Okay, last thing I wanted to ask you about, it's the news of the week, really, is the NWSL bid, which City Council voted Monday to give $50 million actually to be paid for with a 2% tax on tickets to all events at the new Crew Stadium, and $25 million from the city paid through the tax. City gives them McCoy Park to be repurposed, redeveloped as a training ground for the new NWSL franchise. There were provisions put in by the council that said basically put a timeline in to determine how to replace the park and then replace it in part with $3 million from HSG et al., those who won the bid for the NWSL franchise. Morning after, Tuesday morning, the Franklin County commissioners voted to throw their $25 million in the kitty. And hours later, Tuesday afternoon, it's officially announced in a, I don't know, gala is the wrong word, dog and pony show event in the southeastern corner of the stadium with dignitaries and proclamations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I love that NWSL is that Columbus is going to have a women's soccer team, professional women's soccer team. The sausage is delicious, but as I wrote recently, there's scraps from the floor of the meat plant that went into the casing of this thing within the casing. Tom, after a very week that crackled with NWSL news and some controversy, your thoughts on the matter?
Well, we'll start with the easy part. Yeah, of course, it's great to get a women's team here. It's great that the league's expanding. To me, that part of it is wonderful. It's the other part. The park thing really bothers me. I think we had talked off air, as they say in the podcast business. Why? I know a lot of teams don't do this, but there is examples of teams sharing a facility.
Oh, there's a lot of examples.
Yeah,
we exchanged text today. I break all this down in tomorrow's edition of the Weekly Dis at the disrespected.com. Which Tom will tell you is one of his favorite reads.
Absolutely. Especially at 1 a.m. On my first pee break. That's the part that bothers me the most. It's just like why they could not, and I'm sure they'll have their answer, why they could not share the historic Crew Stadium, right? That's where the men, where the Crew practice.
That's right. The Ohio Health something.
Whatever it is. It'll always be Old Crew Stadium to me.
That's right.
Why? Now, again, somebody may say, well, it's do the women or the men that want to share times, there's specific times teams want to go on a practice field. Man, I just think that you have that stadium there. They refurbished that stadium, correct, Mike?
Yes.
They did put some money into that stadium.
Yeah, it has artificial turf on it now.
That
for the Aviators, yes. And for the dome.
That's the part that rubs me the wrong way. You would think that they could have found a way to use that as well. I don't like the idea that a neighborhood where McCoy Park is, what the replacement's going to be like and when that's going to actually go in. They can say, well, yeah, we're going to have it, but what does it do for those kids right now that are going to lose that pretty quickly? That part bothers me. Actually, that part bothers me maybe more than the money.
Yeah.
It's the $50 million split over county and city. Of course, if we lived in California, Mike, this wouldn't be possible because owners, if you want a stadium, go ahead, build it yourself.
Right.
Power to California there.
Well, it's interesting. The LA team, and I'm not familiar with all the names yet, and I'm looking forward to watching more women's soccer beginning right now. But the LA team moved into the Rams' former practice facility because they moved out. They're building some incredible practice facilities. There's even a couple teams that have their own stadiums or are building them, like Denver, Louisville, that are specific. I believe Louisville's the other, specific to the women's team. And that's ultimately a goal, as the commissioner talked about it. And Tom, the feeling I got, again, a deep dive and another screed about the Haslams. As I got to the end of this research and writing today, just before I came on with you at 6:15 in the evening, one of the feelings I had about this was that, and the National Women's Soccer League wants these facilities that are dedicated just to women, because it's proof of the growth and the stature of the league. And so I think that given the fact that Haslam and this group paid a record $205 million for this franchise, according to reports. And given the fact that even though there's 7 teams in the league that share practice facilities and stadiums with other teams, including, as you noted in our text exchange, 6 or 7 teams that are MLS owned that share facilities. All that's going to be in what I post tomorrow morning at the Weekly Disc. But I think that they jumped the line by offering $205 million and a dedicated practice facility. This commissioner has at least 2 other occasions where she was quite hungry about having city-owned public spaces turned into practice facilities for women's teams. She's grown the league, and she had enough leverage to get all that. And the Haslams, the Edwardses, and Nationwide were more than happy to comply with with the demands of the league. And that's why it happened so fast. That's why they emerged with Atlanta over a dozen other, what was a total of what the commissioner said was a dozen cities that were bidding. That sealed the deal, and they were able to get it done in part because they flexed so much political power here, and they were able to give the league everything they wanted. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I mean, that's again. I as I said before, I'm not. The money doesn't bother me as much as just where the park, why they had to go to that neighborhood.
Yes,
there's a lot of areas. It's a pretty big area. This Columbus metro area.
219 square miles, I believe, Tom, something like that.
And why they exactly had to go there, I don't know. That's the part that bothers me more than anything.
Yeah. It's one of the poorer sections of the city. Not a lot of green space there. And there had already been a plan that was going to be implemented. They've already spent more than $1 million on how to update that park. And then this swoops in seemingly at the last minute. And in a span of bing, bang, boom, it was only recently, and I wrote about it at disrespected.com, it was only recently that we found out, here are Haslam's plans for a proposed redevelopment of McCoy Park. Where did this come from? It was crazy. It was head spinning, but now it's all done. I don't know. We'll be returning to the subject. Any last word from you, Tom, on any subject? Who's your favorite player on the Crew is what I want to know.
I think Taha is my guy right now. I mean, you've lost all those big hitters. I mean, it could have been Abu Ali, but I just love the story. I love the kid's story. I love that he's from Columbus. And I just hope that he continues to progress. Like I said, I've really seen some consistency this year, more so last year where there were moments where he looked real good.
Yeah.
I remember the playoff game last year where he started, and it was like that was a little rich for him. But I see a player that's
he's a presence now, Tom.
Well, it's a presence. It's skill. What is the age doesn't matter if you have the ability. And he's 20, but boy, he makes passes and makes plays that older players aren't making. And I just hope that he thrives here in this team because it's nice to have a young kid from our area that's playing that well and has a lot of potential.
Yeah. Well, that's Tom Reed, the Condor, joining us again. I'll have him back whenever he wants to come on. He's the greatest. I'm Michael Arace from thedisrespected.com. Please visit my site. And when it comes to the podcast, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Like, share, rate, and review. It helps me out a lot. And that's it for this edition of the Crucible. For the aforementioned Condor, I'm Michael Arace. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.
Something Columbus is the name for passing through. Forgotten franchises, they tried to steal the crew. Fly over country, left the jackets feeling blue. Fire up Nordeck and noise, we have a place for you. We love to talk Columbus Crew. Blue Jackets finally get their due. We cover pro Columbus. Tune in and join us.